you see, there are not many points here. So first, we'll just have short introduction. It will be mainly about what is PMI Poland chapter, and also a few more words about our Disciplined Agile community. Then for main part of our webinar, it will be conversation with our main speaker, Mark Lines. So we would here finally learn what do we need Disciplined Agile for. And in the end, we will have a QA session, of course. So meanwhile, during the webinar, don't hesitate to post your questions in the chat. And plus, we'll have short summary. And the most important part is quiz. So quiz will be with prizes. So stay tuned till the end. And I think let's move forward. And so here we also would like to mention that our partner is Casus Juris. It's a legal office from Wrocław. And now we would like to talk about what generally PMI Poland chapter is. So generally PMI Poland chapter, so it's meaning like Project Management Institute and Poland chapter branch. It's a part of a global association which is gathering a lot of project managers and also like world changers. And the mission is to promote and also distribute the best practices of project management, and also to do it in different areas. It can be business, also academic spheres, and also we all remember that one of the most important part of Project Management Institute are volunteers. So here together we're joining forces, and we are organizing like different webinars like this, for example, also lectures. Also we have international congress. And also we organize like different social projects like Kids Camp in Gdańsk. So here, like generally, we are we can say working and distributing the knowledge about project management here in Poland. But generally, we're just a part of global stream. And I think here Anya will add some more words about what is our community about.
Yeah, with a lot of pleasure, because Społeczność Disciplined Agile is a project created with a lot of heart. We put a lot of our passion and commitment. So as Anastasia mentioned, we are a group of volunteers, and that's the project we really put a lot of heart in. And we wanted to create a space for both experienced Agile professionals and for beginners. So we don't only share knowledge, we also recommend and share information about different Disciplined Agile events around the world. Of course, we promote DA mindset and certification. All in all, our goal is to develop awareness and competences related to DA in Poland. We are still pretty new because actually the DA community was formed in January 2021. So we are not even half year old. But anyway, we already put a lot of work. And as you can see on the next slide, we have quite many followers for still starting project. So here you can see our official website. You will see it also in chat. If you would like to join us on LinkedIn or in Facebook, then we will be very happy to see you there. Over the last couple months, we've been building a knowledge base on the website and establishing our presence on social media. So if it sounds interesting enough for you, then please join us, and yeah, links you can find in the chat. So I think now it's time to finally officially say something about our guest, our best source of information about Disciplined Agile. So co-creator of DA, co-author of Choose Your Wow. And yeah, good morning, Mark. And thanks again that you found time to meet us today. We're super excited.
Yeah, hello, Mark.
Hello, Anastasia, and hello, Anna. It's very nice to be here speaking to you from Canada on a Monday morning. For me.
Yeah, a bit later for us, but yeah, actually, for the very beginning, there are two questions which I suppose you can answer very easily. So, what is disciplined agile and why do we need it?
So disciplined agile, we used to call it, when I say we, I mean Scott Amber and myself were the creators of it. Originally, we called it a process decision framework. And that just confused everybody. but the reason we called it that is because and when you're developing solutions or implementing a package or doing any kind of agile project, you face many decisions along the way. And just a simple one, form a team. You know, if we're going to start a project or a product, I need a team, multiple teams, and then there's decisions that have to be made. And I'm picking a simple one on purpose. So for a team, how many people do I need? What are the skill sets I require? What education do they need? What experience do they need? What roles will they have on the team? Is the team co-located in a room, in the same building, in different cities, in different countries? And if they're in different countries, are they time zone separated, east-west, or are they north-south? Are they full-time employees, or are they contractors, or a mixture? What's the size of the team? You get the idea? So this is just the most simplest thing in a project, yet I just rattled off about, I don't know, 15 questions that we need to consider as we get ready to run this project. So that's what we mean by process decision. And there are many different kinds of decisions to make. Are we going to do estimating? If so, what technique are we going to use? Are we going to buy an existing package, or are we going to build something from scratch? What kind of architecture, what kind of technology, how long is this going to take? What do the screens look like? You see what I'm saying? And if you look at something like Scrum, it has six different, what they call events or ceremonies. It's described by 13 pages. There's not a lot of content in there. So it's left for us to figure out all these different process decisions. So anyway, what Scott and I endeavored to do was to go out into the hundreds of books out there and pull together practices to help us out, to help us make decisions, to help us understand big teams versus small teams, distributed teams versus co-located, because those process decisions, some of them are better than others. And it depends on your situation. Sometimes it makes sense to outsource things. Sometimes it doesn't. And I'm kind of my background is I'm kind of a process nerd. And I've read the hundreds of books. And I used to teach this stuff for Rational Software. I used to teach how to do requirements and project management and architecture and testing and all sorts of things. And it's that background that brought Scott and I together when he was the worldwide lead of Agile and Lean methods at IBM. He's also from Canada, but he's on the eastern side of Canada. I'm on the western side. We're about a 4-hour flight away from each other. Just, he's in Toronto, I'm in Calgary. But we have a common background, met at the same conferences. And when he was at IBM, he realized that we needed some of this guidance. We needed something more than Scrum to help us in serious situations. So that's when he came up with the idea of disciplined agile delivery and asks for my help with it. And then we wrote our first book, and that was in 2012. And as they say, the rest is history. He left IBM, we started a consulting company, and we continued to build on Disciplined Agile. So that's a long answer to your question, but to summarize, it really, folks, what I really hope you take away from this meeting, if nothing else, is that it is the only thing like it in existence. Nobody else has done this. Nobody else has read the 100 books and pulled together 93 different techniques for testing, 53 different techniques for doing requirements. User stories is just one of them. And brought it together and organized it so it's easy to reference, easy to find, so that you can, pull out the book. If you have a hard copy, I'm old fashioned, I like the old hard copy, and be able to say, I need help with my user stories. What else can I do? Maybe draw some pictures or something to help us get on the same page with the business. It's right here. You just find it and say, oh, I'm going to try one of these. And you close the book and you go back to your job. So people say it's so hard. No, it's not. So, but my point is the only thing like it in existence. Nobody else has sort of brought all this together into one place. And what this provides you is we believe, an amazing resource, so that you don't have to buy dozens of books. You don't have to take 6 different kinds of certifications and try to keep them all up to date over time. You can just learn sort of one, and it's the most robust body of knowledge in existence around Agile. And I'll add one more thing, is that if you study DA, you learn that we have these principles, and Scott and I sometimes like to kid, we're like the Agile for adults. And we are kidding, but we understand that not everything has to be Agile. Sometimes we're in certain kinds of situations where you need to do some traditional things. As an example, if you're going to tender a project out to a company for them to build something for you, you can't just give them a list of user stories and expect them to bid on the project. They need to know more. And so that means that we have to be less agile than we'd like to be, and maybe do more upfront requirements. And then you give that to the company, and then they can come back and give you a bid to do that business, to build that system for you. So this is the difference between us and the other agile methods out there, is we're pragmatic. We recognize sometimes you can go 100% agile, and sometimes you can only do 20% agile and 80% traditional. And we all also recognize that Scrum is great in some situations, and other situations it's really bad. So we have other approaches. So we're the only thing, we're the agnostic agile out there, and we're pragmatic. We believe that choice is good, and that we need to adapt our context or our approach based on our context. We need to think about what makes sense for us in this situation, rather than just pull off some methodology and it says do this, then this, then this, then this. That is not the way that you optimize your way of working. It's a long answer, but so we've changed. The bottom line is we changed the name from process decision framework to a toolkit, because people get that. Think of it like ingredients to cook. It's the ingredients where Scrum might be a recipe. So that's one way to think about it.
Exactly. So considering context of our meeting today, because as we mentioned, it's the first meeting in Poland about Disciplined Agile. So I think quite a lot of participants may not know Disciplined Agile yet. It might be their first touching point with this toolkit. And Mark, I know you have a little presentation prepared, right, about the basics of DA. So just that we can catch up and maybe see 5 minutes of basics of DA, just to be on the same page.
Okay, let me see if I can find my screen first of all. Are you seeing my PowerPoint?
Yes.
So I'm just going to go through a few slides just to sort of summarize the key components of Disciplined Agile. And first of all, you might say, well, if it's so good, how come I haven't heard of it before? Well, I'd like you to understand that this was created by Scott and I, and with help, by the way, from other people. We've always taken feedback from other people, and it's evolved over the years. But we were still just a little Canadian company, as I said, separated by 2 time zones across this big country of Canada. And we had an 8-person consulting company. So Scott and I had to blend our time between writing books, writing articles, speaking at conferences, and actually earning a living doing consulting services. So, and by the way, that's one of the great things about DA is it's based on real life experiences, not just on theory. But that meant that we didn't have a lot of time to do marketing, didn't have a lot of money to do marketing. And the only way people knew about DA was through our speaking or writing. And that's really not a great way to market worldwide. We did speak at conferences worldwide in India and all over the world. But still, we couldn't really compete for mind share with scrum.org and Scaled Agile and all those kinds of things. We just weren't in the same league. So now that we're part of PMI, and joining PMI in 2019 was a conscious choice to realize that PMI has a global presence. It's the market leader in project management and not-for-profit, agnostic. And that's exactly what we are for Agile. So it's kind of a marriage made in heaven. What we believe is the best-in-class Agile guidance with the best-in-class traditional guidance. it's a perfect fit for us within PMI. And with 300 chapters around the world and 1 million certified project managers and executive council members from PMOs from the largest companies around the world, we have deep relationships with all these companies. And now it's a matter of teaching, getting the awareness out there of what DA is. And then COVID hit, right? So we were acquired, we joined PMI in late 2019. And I was actually literally traveling around the world. I was in Australia when COVID hit. And then I was supposed to go to Singapore and then Tokyo, but I ended up flying directly back to Calgary. I think it was in February 2020, and I haven't been on an airplane since. So we are still working hard to get the word out, and we're pretty confident once people understand how we're agnostic and we work with everything, that we're pretty excited about the future for DA. So it's maybe new to you, but we think there's nothing not to like about it, quite frankly. I don't know what you wouldn't like about agnosticism and pragmatism, adjusting for context, etc. So here's the key messages about DA is we fundamentally believe that the typical agile teams are inadequately skilled to truly optimize their ways of working. What I mean by that is a typical agile team where it gets very little training, maybe 2 days. Often they have no experience. Often their scrum master is expected to be the expert in the process, and he or she may not have very much experience. And if all they've done is 2 days of certification, they don't know all these different ways to do estimating and testing and requirements, etc. So they often struggle to improve because they don't have that depth of experience. So we truly believe that for traditional project management, we expect a project manager that has thousands of hours of real experience, know extensive body of knowledge that is the PMBOK guide, and pass a challenging exam. But on the agile side, the bar is so much lower. So we really believe that the key to success is for all the team members to invest a bit more in their education, and that will make them so much more effective. I'll tell you more about that. Teams and organizations are often locked into a method or framework. So you may hear people talking about themselves as being a Scrum shop or a SAFe shop or a extreme programming shop or a lean shop. And this is really sad because any organization should use a variety of flavors depending on the type of project that they're on. So and if your company has spent a bunch of money on Scrum training, do you think Scrum.org wants you to evolve away from Scrum to using Lean? Of course they don't. They have a vested interest in keeping you inside their framework. And I would say the same thing about SAFe or any other sort of method. Whereas we say, gee, if Scrum doesn't make sense, then do this instead. Or SAFe is too big for you, then do something smaller like this. That we think is a refreshing approach. So we encourage you. In fact, our first book, in the introduction to Disciplined Agile, talks about a fictional case study based on something we see all the time, where a team evolves from Scrum to Lean, away from Scrum to Lean, and that's okay if that makes you more effective. And then lastly, organizations' ability to deliver value to customers is often impeded by ineffective value streams. And what that means, if you're not familiar with the value streams, I sometimes use the example of buying pizza because I did some work for one of the largest pizza companies in the world, Papa John's Pizza. And so the value stream of a pizza starts when I pick up my mobile app to order pizza. And then a lot of things happen before that pizza ends up showing up back at my house. There's technology involved with the mobile app, and then the order gets beamed up to head office and down to a local franchise. And then there's a back office system to take the order, and they bake the pizza and they find a driver. It might be a different technology like Uber Eats or something. And then they drive it to my house. And then hopefully the pizza is not cold by that time, and hopefully it's the right pizza, and hopefully it tastes good. So my point is, there's many opportunities along that value stream to disappoint a customer. And a lot of organizations are kind of siloed in the way they build that overall experience. So it doesn't really flow very well. So this is what we talk about in terms of value streams. And by the way, also teams don't work by themselves. They work with other areas. They work with PMOs. They work with finance to get money. They work with release management, if it's software, to get it out into the hands of the customers. And often those other areas, enterprise architecture, data, they're not agile. And they're just doing the best that they can, but nobody has spent time to help them understand how to be agile too. And that's what we do in DA. We help optimize all of it, not just the IT part. Okay, so I talked about it being a toolkit. I've got, a half dozen slides here, and I don't want to waste time doing presentations. So very quickly, I'm going to fly through these just to show you. Here's the body of knowledge, the Choose Your Wow. It is essentially the second edition of our first book, the Disciplined Agile Delivery book, that we got it all started. The Choose Your Wow book is the second edition. And we teach in DA far more than what you teach in a typical 2-day Scrum cert. We teach about risk management. Agile teams don't even learn about risk management, which is really sad. Very important. If you're using traditional or Agile, you still got to manage your risks. We talk about lean governance, much more than what you typically cover. It really is the pragmatic and disciplined approach to Agile. How do you find all these great ideas that I talked to? We organize them into goals to make it easy to find them. Do you remember I talked about form team on the top left here? Behind each of these goals is a goal diagram. And these aren't technical goals. I plan the release is about estimating and how long is this actually going to take me. Behind each of these is a goal diagram. So if I were to look at exploring the scope, for instance, I've got many different ways to explore the scope of my solution. And if you look inside Explore Usage, on the right-hand side, you'll see user story is bold, italicized, which is what we learn in basic Agile. But there are many other different techniques that we may wish to supplement our user stories with, so that we can take out the ambiguity and maybe really get a good understanding about what our customers really want. And as I said, most people don't understand half of what these things are. And you don't have to, for certification, you don't have to memorize them. Think of it as a reference. When you need it, you go find something that's going to help you out. And for each of the ideas that you see in that list, there is a table that has a definition, often a resource to go find more information, and then trade-offs to help you understand which ones work in different situations. So can you understand how having this resource at your fingertips is going to make you so much more effective? Like if you wanted to learn how to do agile testing, automated testing, manual testing, you probably have to buy a dozen different testing books. Here, you can find it all in the one goal around how to do testing. So it makes you much more effective immediately. I often say it takes a junior agilist or a junior coach and makes them a senior one basically overnight. I've often kidded that the toolbox is kind of coach in a box. I actually literally walk around from team to team with it in my hand so that I can reference it at any time. I won't show you the browser. Actually, I will show you really quickly because I'll spend just 30 seconds on it.
All right.
I promise. But I just want you to know that as PMI members, you get free access to this. This is the online version of what I just said. So I talked about testing strategies. Mm-hmm. And when you click on any of these things, the strategies appear underneath it. So a very valuable tool. You can also do, how do I deal with change? You can do a search, change.
Then, we cannot see your screen.
Oh,
we
no.
see only
yeah,
PowerPoint.
because we see only a PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Hang on. Don't go away.
But anyway, I think that's also the answer to one of my questions, because for now I have a printed version of Choose Your Wow, but just because of Control F and search function, I have also PDF. So maybe I can switch from PDF to this web version, which you're showing.
Yeah. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So you can see the tool?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. So you can click on the different goals, and then you can click on different sections, and underneath it, it looks better on a big monitor, but you can see all the things that I mentioned. Also, what's kind of neat is what makes it better than the book is that you can actually have additional resources on the web. If I want to learn about finance, CapEx, OpEx strategies, it also has references out on the web. So that's pretty neat. If I can get back to the tool here. And then what's the last thing I want to show you? Oh, the search function, which is really neat. So if I say I want to learn about agile change management, I do a search, and all the places in the toolkit that talks about change, like change control board, and you see it highlights on the right-hand side what came up in your search. It's very, very powerful. Anyway, I know I don't have much time, so I'll get back to, you can see my PowerPoint again?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So you can think of DA as helping you get better at getting better. We teach you how to learn how to learn. And if that means going away from whatever you're currently doing to something better, we encourage that. And if that means, no, I like Scrum, I just want to stay with Scrum, but I want to get better at Scrum, that's fine too. So, and we also, we talk about continuous improvement. The difference with DA is it's guided continuous improvement, because you don't have to sort of fail. If you've heard the Agile term failing fast, which is I try something, if it doesn't work, I fail, but that's okay. I learn and I try something else until I get better. And management is supposed to support that so that they don't judge you if you make mistakes. Now that is a good idea, but so what's even better is picking techniques that have proven to work in similar situations. So this speeds up your learning, and one of the real advantages of the toolkit. I also want to just point out as I get close to the end here that we're in the middle of everything. You know, I sometimes call it the Switzerland of Agile. We don't fight with anybody else. We can make your safe better. We can make your less or your Spotify or your Scrum or your Lean or whatever it is better, complementary. So you don't have to go to your boss to say, we want to stop doing safe and start doing DA. No, what you might say is, I think we can get better with safe. Let's use some of the ideas from DA. And to do that, I'm going to have to learn about those techniques, right? We have guidance about how to do transformations, if that's something you're interested in. So you can do a safe evolution, you could do a Scrum evolution, you could transform other areas of your business like finance, vendor management, marketing. So we have roadmaps for that in DA. In the brand new certification called the Value Stream Consultant, something that I really think is world-class without peer in the industry. The genius Al Shalloway, part of Net Objectives, that also joined PMI, and Scott and I have been working with Al and the rest of the team to combine his guidance on doing Agile at scale with DA. And this is the value stream. It's like a loop. It starts at, remember I talked about Papa John's, the pizza company?
Yeah.
Starts at the customer, ends at the customer. And we want to look at optimizing the flow of value to the customer, whether it's business or IT. And you can learn about that in the Value Stream Consultant certification. So to wrap up, the three key things to think about with DA is upskill. It teaches you options I guarantee you've never heard of before to help you be more effective. And the two certifications around that are the DA Scrum Master and the Senior Scrum Master. And by the way, if you're already a certified Scrum Master or PSM or a SAFe program consultant, you don't have to start from scratch. You can jump right into the Senior Scrum Master. And the beauty of the Senior Scrum Master is it teaches you how to deal with complex situations, teams of teams, and also introduces you to coaching other areas of the organization. And then enterprise coaching is where you start to optimize the team performance as well as other areas of the organization. We've got a DA coach for that. That one's not quite ready. We've been redesigning it and we'll be ready in a couple of months. And the Value Stream Consultant was just launched, and it's around improving large scale situations like SAFe, optimizing way beyond your individual teams, but actually thinking of the organization as a whole. So we really believe a certification program that really doesn't have peer in the industry. Okay, so there's a quick presentation. Maybe that spurred some more questions for you.
Yes, sure. Actually, we've prepared some list of questions, but like you already replied to part of it, but still we are prepared. So just I'll share my screen. And I think, Anya, you want to talk about the implementation of DA?
Yes, exactly. Because actually all the questions about joining forces of Disciplined Agile and PMI, I think what you said is enough. We understand why it happened, and we are very happy to be a part of this in Polish market. But about DA implementation, I think the very interesting question is how to start. We know that each moment, actually, it doesn't matter what's the team agile maturity, each moment is good to start, but the question is how to start. What would be our first steps in the team, in the project, to start implementing disciplined agile, both life cycle and process decisions?
Sure. Great question. So the nice thing about DA, as I said, is it's not disruptive. Many executives are afraid of changing. They may have spent a lot of money on SAFe or Scrum or something else. The good news is you don't have to convince your boss to change. What you hopefully can convince him is if you're not going to pay for your own training, that he will pay for your training. And what I would say to your boss, by the way, is, well, so we went for SAFe training last year. How about this year, if we go to some training to help us be more effective with SAFe, right? Or Scrum training. We just started using Scrum and we're doing kind of well in some places, and other places we're not doing so well. How about we get some training on how to get better with Scrum, how to go beyond what we learned about in that CSM class, Certified Scrum Master class. So at the team level, very, very easy to get started. And we do, just like basically any agile training, we recommend that the entire team gets trained. And I also want to make clear in this talk that the DA Scrum Master cert that we have, the DASM, when you look at the name of it, it sounds like it's training just for the Scrum Master, but it's not. It's training for everybody. And so that, sometimes we toyed about changing the name to Disciplined Agile for Teams, just to make it really clear that it is for everybody. So that's one thing you understand. If you're a BA, a tester, a developer, a project manager, the DASM is suitable for anybody. The bonus is you can get a Scrum Master certification at the end of it. So it's easy to get started. If you're taking a more aspirational approach to improving your organization or your department, now you're going to need buy-in from your executive. And in my experience, is actually fairly easy to get as well, because the executives like to hear that it's context-based and it's pragmatic. It's a hybrid, right, of agile and traditional. And for that, Scott and I wrote the book, the Enterprise Guide, or Executive Guide to Disciplined Agile. And it's short. It's unlike executives don't want to read a 400-page book, right? So this one's shorter. It's got cartoons and pictures and things. And in my experience, when executives read this, they go, this makes complete sense. And once they buy into it, then they're more likely to pay for training for all the teams. Like I can name company after company after company that Scott and I and our previous company went into and trained everybody in the company. Typically IT, but even some people outside of IT took the training, like marketing and other areas. But if you look at the case studies on PMI.org, those are examples of companies that trained everybody. And it was sponsored by the executive. And in this book, by the way, it's on Amazon. It needs a refresh. Like the sort of, there's a page here on the certification, and certification programs changed, but the fundamentals of the book have not changed. And chapter 7 talks about how to do a transformation, and it's actually fairly straightforward. By the way, you hear so much about transformations failing in that.
You're like predicting all of our questions, because
I'm
actually
sorry.
we wanted to.
I'll stop talking and let you answer the questions.
It just shows that we have the correct
chapter 7
flow. The transformation. That's what we wanted to ask you about, because as far as within small team or small project, it seems fairly easy. How is it with big enterprises? The changing of mindset, maybe not even necessarily coming from waterfall to agile, but in general implementing DA in such a scale.
Yeah. It depends on the size of the company, I guess. But one of the things that we've always done is spend some time with executives on why they need to change and what it means to them and what we expect from the executives to help support the endeavor. So a one-day workshop, and by the way, I plan to do a talk on this on projectmanagement.com. on how to run a one-day executive workshop, because their time is valuable. And this is something we don't have as a formal course offering at PMI, but I'm going to do a talk to show anybody how to run it so that you can have this session with your executives to get them to buy into the approach. And it's a lot of it is teaching them themes like transparency, and talked about in the executive guide, so you can learn more there. But you walk out of that one-day workshop, and then there'll be subsequent smaller workshops. And we create like a vision canvas. Think of it as a big piece of paper that you would print out on a plotter that says, why are we doing this? What's the urgency? What's the commitment we need to make? What are the key benefits that we expect to see? And then post that in a generally available area. Now we're all virtual right now, so maybe it's on your intranet somewhere. But that just is a really good sign to everybody that this is not a downsizing effort. This is how do we get better? And if everybody can see it, like I think of a company where they posted it outside the elevators. So anytime anybody came out of the elevator, it would say Disciplined Agile Transformation. So everybody knew it wasn't a secret. We weren't trying to fire a bunch of people, let them go. We're trying to learn how to get better, supported by the executive. So there's that. And then you train each of the teams. And one of the key success factors is getting some coaching, getting some help from somebody who's done this before, because that will accelerate your learning. And it's almost like an insurance to make sure that your first projects succeed, because you really need success on your first projects. Okay, so what I've just said is mixture of top-down education and getting support, and then some coaching and training, and start individual teams incrementally, like maybe 6 weeks of coaching, 2 weeks as an inception or a startup, and then two-week sprints. Start them with a Scrum approach, and then start another team. That kind of incremental approach is what we talk about in the book. It's actually not that hard. You just have to be disciplined about it.
That's everything, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the challenges mentioned by our participant, because as you know, we've collected a bunch of questions from our early birds, so people who were the first ones to book tickets for today's event. And one of the doubts was about actually convincing executives or C-level management why to choose Disciplined Agile. In terms of this, hard evidence that we need this much time, this much effort, maybe some kind of budget to implement it. Do you cover this as well in the book you mentioned, or in this meeting you will be doing?
Yeah, we don't quote metrics of improvements per se in our books. Now, there's a famous book out there by one of the creators of Scrum called Twice the Value in Half the Time, kind of a thing.
That kind of spoiled the market, right?
It spoiled the market. You absolutely nailed it. I think it's tremendously unfair to release a book like that, because 400% improvement, sure, if you're really, really bad, you can get a 400% improvement. But for a normal, well-functioning team, you're not going to get that kind of improvement. So it's really, I think it's set the bar too high. Your boss is going to think, okay, great, I can get twice the work done, and I'm going to cut the team in half. That's not doing anybody any favors. So the thing about metrics is they can be gamed. And I'm very skeptical whenever I see 35% improvement of anything, because it's really hard to measure. By the way, you can't really measure improvement unless you are measuring the current. And almost no one, if you talk to them right now, can tell you exactly what their current productivity is. So how are you supposed to say 35% over what, right? That's the big flaw in this kind of stuff. But I can tell you that any company that's ever done DA, it becomes self-evident. They just say, we're a different company. We're happier. We're more reliable. Our quality is better. Our customers are more happy with our solutions. Now, can you put a number on that? It's pretty hard to do. But the testimonials that you see from executives, they talk about it being a completely different company, and they would never go back. And repeat business is another good sign. I don't know if you have them in Poland, but in North America, there's this company called Panera Bread. And it's very much like Starbucks, only it's more food focused versus coffee, but they're on every corner. Oh, I'm exaggerating, in America. And I was asked to go in and help them do DA. And it was very successful. And then the VP went to Papa John's Pizza, and he called me again and said, Mark, what you did for Panera Bread, can you come do for Papa John's Pizza? So repeat business is probably as good a metric as any there is. And yeah, so it becomes self-evident. And also, just, it's very simple to ask your boss, we're doing this. Are we perfect? No. We want to get better? Yes. How do we get better? We invest in learning about how to customize what we're currently doing. Remember I said one of the slides I showed you was learning how to get better at getting better. The other thing, see, within DA, it's not just the tools, not just 1,000 strategies, it's the change management we teach as well. This is a change management exercise. And you want to do that in a lean way. So use Agile to implement Agile using the techniques from the toolkit. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So
I think that Papa John's is also a good example because it's really down to earth. Let's say you don't need to be specialized in software development. It's really understandable, great example that it doesn't need to be IT, doesn't need to be software company, right? DA can be great anywhere.
You're absolutely right. Because you know what? And I'm glad you mentioned that, Anna, because people say to me, yeah, but Mark, we're not a technology company. But you know what? 90% of companies are technology companies. They just don't call themselves technology company. In fact, the COO, Chief Operating Officer of Papa John's, in a town hall where I was there, he said to everybody in the room, we're not a pizza company, we're a digital company, which people are like, what are you talking about? We're a pizza company. But he was trying to make a point that if they don't have good digital operations, it doesn't matter if they make pizza or not, they're going to go out of business. So every company, technology is a critical part of it. 90% of companies. Think about UPS or FedEx. Is there core competency driving stuff around in trucks, or is it their logistics and the technology that supports it? Same thing with Uber, Netflix, right? The technology companies, really. See, your message to your boss is, how can we get more efficient? Not by following some canned approach, but figuring out, be like Spotify. I talked about that, right? Don't copy Spotify, be like Spotify. Learn how to create an Agile for you. And that's what you can do with the toolkit.
Oh, actually, that's the point. We had a question on chat. We promised that it's going to be Q&A session at the end, but you mentioned about Spotify. And one of the questions on the chat from Jerzy was, since Spotify is not using the Spotify model anymore, then why do you take it as an example in the whole Disciplined Agile toolkit?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question. For those of us who are process nerds like me, the Spotify thing is kind of a joke because it's not a framework. It is not a model. It is the way a Swedish online music company did Agile, by the way, 7 or 8 years ago. And they've got some really cool terms. So teams are called squads. COPs are called guilds. They have chapters and tribes. So pretty cool terminology. And it's more than that. I'm teasing them. They do some pretty neat things, but they never wanted you to copy what they do. They did some YouTube videos done by, Henrik Nyberg, one of the best Agile coaches in the world. And everybody said, squads, tribes, chapters, guilds, look at this cool video. I can just copy what they do in this video and I'm going to be Agile. And so then people started to say, we follow the Spotify model. It's not your Agile, it's theirs. That's why it's a running joke in the industry, is that that was 7 years ago. Why do you think Spotify would let you put that stuff up on YouTube? Because they don't do it anymore. They've moved on to something much better. So if you're copying something for a Swedish online music company that's 8 years old, you're not being Agile, right? But the reason I bring it up, first of all, is because people still call themselves a Spotify shop. So if you're a Spotify shop, great. Use the DA toolkit to create an agile for you, not for them. So that's one of the reasons we still reference it. But yeah, nobody does that. They don't do that anymore. So if you want to use it, by the way, I like the terms, some of them. For COP, I like the term guild. I use the term guild because it talks to craft. And I think that we all need to get better at our craft, and a COP is a good mechanism for that. But please don't copy and paste Spotify. Be like them. Create a way of working for you, for your kind of company, not for them. So that's my little rant about Spotify. And companies like Gartner know this, that this is just silly. Yeah, you've got some, I'm not going to name which company it is, one of the top tier consulting organizations in the world goes around telling people to implement Spotify. It's a travesty. But anyway, you know.
Yeah, actually here we have also some additional questions because as like also you were saying that like also as we know by history of Disciplined Agile that it was evolving, like there were few versions developed, and like for future, like here we have a question from Piotr, like do you see something like in your backlog for development of Disciplined Agile, like for the future version?
What's coming? Is that what you want to know? So we spent a lot of time integrating our stuff with the Flex stuff from Al Shalloway, and came up with a new certification program, which is really robust. Like the philosophy behind it, folks, just so you know, is we wanted to provide not just a one-stop 2-day cert and I'm done, like a CSM, but a growth path that will support you over your career journey. There's always a way to get better. And the Senior Scrum Master is an example. Do you know that we did research on this? And a lot of Scrum Masters said, I've been doing Scrum for 10 years, and I was making 30 euros an hour or whatever it was. And 10 years later, I'm still making 30 euros an hour, and I'm still a CSM. They've gone nowhere. They've got nowhere to go. And it's really hard for them to differentiate themselves from another senior or certified Scrum Master that has 2 days of training and no experience. So hiring manager said, I need to find senior Scrum Masters that deal with serious mission critical initiatives. And that's why we created the Senior Scrum Master. So you've got a place to go to take you next level. And then you've got the coach next level. Now you're talking about improving the organization and the value stream consultant. So first, my thing there is it's taken us a while, and we're not done, to create those core certifications. What you're going to see additionally is micro credentials, like little 3-hour, 4-hour e-learning modules. Somebody asked about measurement. Metrics is the first one that's coming out in a couple of months. And it's a e-learning module, because your boss is going to say, okay, I want to do this kind of agile. How do I know I'm getting better? People go, that's when they go to Google agile metrics. That's not the way to do it, because metrics are really hard to do properly. They can be gamed if you pick the wrong ones. So the agile metrics course teaches you how to pick which metrics to use, micro credentials. You're going to see, so if you look at the DA onion, we call it, the scope with marketing, finance, and PMOs, and product management, and enterprise architecture, release management, you're going to see us create micro credentials for each of those. Majority of them will be e-learning. So it's easy for you to pick up what I would call power skills to help you round out your knowledge. That's one thing. We're also going to be coming out with a product owner certification. It's a glaring omission right now in our certifications. We have the content. Scott and I have taught product owners for years, but we haven't packaged it up into a PMI certification. So you're going to see a Disciplined Agile product owner cert coming out, very likely end of this year or Q1 of next year. That's some of the things that are on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait, especially that I
Yeah.
have to say I used to be the one Googling how to measure it. But Mark, we have quite a lot of questions regarding process plates in DA. What is it exactly? And Piotr was also asking if there is a plan to elaborate the process-based options, like for finance or people management. There's not much about it available at the moment.
Yeah, good question. So the if you've seen the square onion that I speak of, you can see it on the website. And if you've seen any other presentation that I've done or Scott has done, you'll see that we have multi-layers of disciplined agile within the organization. And the hexes that you see on that diagram are called process blades. Examples are what you mentioned: finance, marketing, enterprise architecture, release management, etc. Now, the heart of DA is disciplined agile delivery, known as DAD. That's how it all started. The first book was Disciplined Agile Delivery. So when we say delivery, we're talking about delivery teams, individual teams, scrum teams, lean teams, whatever, building something or implementing something. So you will see on the DA onion, there's a hex there. Do you know where that's where most of the content is right now? And that's what the Choose Your Wild book is all about. This is essentially, as I said, the second edition of Disciplined Agile Delivery, and is what the Scrum Master certifications are built off of. Okay, this is it. This is the 1,000 practices. The process blades is the fancy nerd term for those hexes. So finance, behind it, it's called the process blade, and behind it, you would expect to see one of those goal diagrams that we saw, with different options to help you be more agile with finance. And the person who wrote in the chat is absolutely right. We do not have a goal diagram, a process blade diagram for each of those areas yet. It's aspirational. Like legal, we don't have anything for legal right now. How do you do agile law? Don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But by the way, one of the things that I'm doing is working with associations to help flush out that content. So that is coming. I'm meeting right now with the president of, I'm hesitant to say, but in large accounting associations, put it that way. And to help, because I'm not an accountant. I know a lot about accounting, and I know a lot about agile ways of accounting and budgeting and finance. But we are working with people who understand best in class traditional accounting, finance. And we're going to, remember, it's a hybrid. We're going to take their stuff, combine it with agile, and then you're going to round out that process blade for finance. So just to let you know that, and that might be in the certifications, might be in micro credentials, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to build out the content in all the blades. Some of it's there already. If you go into vendor management, something we've done very recently is there is now a vendor management process blade goal diagram. And I can tell you, we're working with the Lean Agile Procurement Association, to on this content. We're working on it together, because procurement is a source of pain in so many organizations, not agile, but Lean Agile Procurement's got some pretty interesting ideas. And anyway, we're working with them hand in hand to create micro-credential for Lean Agile Procurement that's coming out in a couple of months. It's a long answer, but we're going to build out those process blades. Some of them are there already, but Scott is the chief scientist now for DA at PMI. And we built out a thought leadership team, which we think is the best thought leadership team in the world for Agile. Who would have thought that PMI would have the best Agile thought leadership team in the world? What we do. So there's some really good stuff that's coming. It's a multi-year backlog, however. So you have to be patient.
Yeah, I think here we would have I think we still have more questions in chat, and even from personally for me and Anya, but unfortunately time flies and we have time for one last question. So guys, we would like to invite you to have this chance to ask the question personally. So you can turn on your camera, turn on your microphone, and just pop up with your question. So do we have anybody who is brave enough and want to use this opportunity? Because if not,
Oh. My name is Richard. Hi, Mark. Just a quick question from my side, whether you envision to build actually a group of trainers in Poland or in Europe. I'm interested to hear about that. Thanks.
Great question. I sure hope so. This is still early days, even though it's been almost 2 years since we were acquired. Because of COVID, it's really set us all back. Training budgets have been slashed. Individuals don't want to spend on training if you're just trying to pay your bills and you're not sure about your own job security. So we've been on pause. But as we come out of COVID, we see a re-energizing of the community, which would include the chapters. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the ATPs, the Authorized Training Partners, but they teach PMI courses, PMI prep, PMP prep, and now they can teach DA courses. So if there isn't, I'm sure there must be some ATPs in Poland, and they should be teaching DA courses now. And if they're not, I think they soon will be. So I would expect you to see lots of training locally available for DA. Also, chapter here, we're going to provide any assistance we can, events like this, to help you spread the word and to generate interest in the courses. By the way, there's e-learning versions of the DA Scrum Master, and one is coming out for the Senior Scrum Master. There won't be for the coach or for the value stream consultant. We think that really need to be instructor-led for those two. But so you got e-learning, I've got instructor-led for the first two certifications. And I would encourage you to find an ATP and say, can you run a DA workshop for me? They should be able to do that.
Mark, I will jump with one more question. I know we said it's going to be the last one, but it's super interesting.
Sure.
We were talking about disciplined agile coaches, value stream consultants, scrum masters. What about product owners? Is there any plan to cover this kind of role comparing to other frameworks?
Yeah, I think I did answer that question, but if it wasn't clear, we are going to have a product owner certification. It's on the books. We have the content already. We just haven't packaged it as a cert and created the exam for it. So we've got so many priorities right now, but it will be either towards the end of this year or Q1 next year. We'll have a brand new DA product owner certification. It is a glaring hole in our portfolio right now. As I said, Scott and I have taught it for years, but we just had so many other things going on at PMI. We haven't been able to package it up as a certification yet, but it's coming. And by the way, so I know I'm out of time. I just want to make you this offer. I'm quite happy to come back and do this again, because I can see there's a lot of interest here, and the time went by pretty fast. So if Claudia, whoever wants to do another request for me, I'm happy to come back in 6 months or something like that and do this again.
That's great. Then next time we're going to book 5 hours and then we will manage.
Yeah, bump with all our questions, because still we're going to continue with our discipline talks, because this is actually the first one we're doing here in Poland. So yeah, so it will be really nice to
invite Scott. I'm sure he'd be happy to speak to you as well.
Oh, great. Yeah, thanks you for the tip. And I think for now, we're finished with our QA session, but don't worry, the unanswered questions will be answered actually by Mark, who kindly agreed to provide us with this opportunity. So all answers will be published on our social media. So remember to follow us. And let me just quickly summarize our meeting. So for the one who are collecting professional development units points, so it's mainly for one who are applying for PMI certification. So please be aware that you will receive 1 PDU for this webinar, and the information with the course identifier and claim code, it will be sent to you by email when we finish with this webinar. And also, we want to thank us as our team, our community, who is supporting the DA toolkit and actually spreading the knowledge of it here in Poland. So this is us, and hopefully we will see you all soon on our next discipline talks. And of course, we want to thank you for joining us for our first event. And actually, we have a small request for you. Also, before entering our quiz, we would like to ask you to turn on your camera so we can make a screenshot for memory. So it will be like let's say, kind of family picture for us, which we would like to later publish on social media. So the one who is prepared or even not prepared, doesn't matter, please turn on your cameras and we will quickly make this shot.
I'm ready.
Great, great.
That's
Please
great.
join.
Big
Probably
smile
have
on
to
the
stop
face.
sharing, I think.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing for now.
Yeah, that's a good point. And guys, please don't go yet, because as you saw in the chat, there is a big surprise for you. There's gonna be a special prize.
Yes, and special quiz.
Yeah, it's the day of everything special today.
It's too bad. Looks like there's 3 screens of people. Not everybody's going to get on. Oh, well, but this is good.
I hope our technical team has a solution for this.
All right.
Okay, guys, you need to let us know when we're ready.
I'm ready. And I think here we already have some ready notes from the chat.
I'd love the 3D glasses. All right. Did anybody take a picture?
It's done.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great. So Mark, we know you need to leave. You have another meeting, right? So people are probably waiting
It's
for you already.
actually a Canadian holiday here today.
Oh.
Yeah.
So does it mean you can stay with us for longer? If you want.
Because we know we can prolong for 2 or 3 hours. We have enough topics to discuss.
Which
Maybe
holiday?
Okay, so coming back to the topic of the quiz.
Quiz, yes, the second most important part of this webinar. So we prepared quiz for you. It's of course on the subject of Disciplined Agile. So hopefully you listened to our webinar, because the questions are going to be connected to it. So on the next slide, we will have QR code, which you can scan by your cameras on your phones, or we will also put the link to the survey, to this quiz on our chat. So there will be just 5 questions, and the first 2 participants with fastest correct answers, they win, and they will be informed by email in 2 days on May 26th. And the prize is actually the 30-minute online meeting with our speaker, Mark Lines, who also kindly agreed to provide this opportunity. So yeah, guys, so be ready. In 3, 2, 1, I'm turning on the QR code, and please scan it and go on with the quiz, because as for now, quiz is going to be available only through this webinar. So don't postpone. Link is supposed to be on chat now. Not yet.
There's a 5-second advantage.
I don't see the link.
Okay, so maybe I will.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, super. Yeah, because unfortunately I don't see the chat. Okay, so we will just give you like 1 minute to focus on it and provide this fast correct answers. And hopefully everybody got the link, and also maybe I will put it for a couple more seconds. So hopefully everybody was able to scan it or use the link in the chat. And meanwhile, of course, we encourage you to follow our social media, where we'll be posting not only the answers provided by Mark, but also information about coming events. And generally there we are posting information about DA, also in Polish language, because most of information on PMI.org website is provided in English. So like here we're trying to spread the knowledge also in Polish language. So don't hesitate jump in there. And I think there is the moment to thank you all for joining us. As a reminder, you can connect with us through LinkedIn, Facebook, and also through email. And by the way, if anybody wants to receive the certification confirming the participation in webinar, like don't hesitate to contact us by email or even by LinkedIn on Facebook. You can always write to us. So, and thank you, Mark, for being our first speaker, but like the main speaker. It's really honor to be able to ask you all these questions, and hope we will be able to host you, or also Scott, soon. And for sure, we will be prepared with more advanced questions.
My pleasure. And thank you all for attending, and I'm asking for your help. Help spread the word. What's not to like about pragmatism and agnostic and flexibility, right? So we think it's great. So spread the word, social media, any way you can. All right. Thank you all.
We definitely will.
Yeah.
Thanks again for
Thank
spending
you.
with us this holiday morning. So enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And thanks a lot, guys, for all of you being here on our first event. And hopefully we'll see you on the next ones.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Be safe.
Yeah.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Mark.
Guys, bye.
Nice listening
Bye.
to you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you.
Thanks.